In this tutorial, we're going to talk about the basics of Audacity by creating a multi-track project. And to get started, what we're going to do is open up an audio file. We're going to actually import it into our Audacity project. So we can go to Project, Import Audio, and we're going to find the file that we want to import. You can see Audacity has imported this file, and we see the waveforms associated with this file. It's a stereo track. As you can see, we have a left and a right track here. And if we take a look around the interface, we have a play button, a record button, pause, and stop. If we wanted to play through this particular piece of audio, we can hit play and listen to what we have so far. Alright, so we have a very simple piece to begin with, and I'm going to import a second piece of audio so we have something else to work with. So import audio, I'll look for a second audio file. And so now we have two stereo tracks loaded into the Audacity interface. Before I go any further, what I want to make sure I do is save my Audacity project, just in case something happens to my file. I want to have a saved version of it. So I'm going to go to File, Save Project. So Audacity is just letting you know that it saves as AUP natively and that you need Audacity to play those AUP project files. So I'll call this Audio Tutorial. And I'll save it in my Audio Tutorial folder. Very convenient. And now I'm going to keep on going. I imported a second track and I want to listen to that before I go any further. I want to listen to this second track by itself. So I can mute the first track that we imported and hit play, and now only the second track will play. Alright, so I think what I want to do is I want to play this little bit of my first audio track first, and when I hit about 3 seconds, I want to introduce track number 2, and I'm going to add about 6 seconds of silence in track number 1 so that track number 2 has an opportunity to play the whole way through, and then track number 1 can continue and finish off. So it'll look like this. First, what I want to do is I want to extend the length of play for track number 1. And I can do that by generating silence. And so I'm going to do that where I know that there's relative quiet in track number 1. And I can go ahead and generate silence. And it's going to ask how many seconds of silence I want to create. I want to create 6. And I'll generate silence. And you can see now Audacity has automatically inserted those 6 extra seconds of silence into my first track. And now you can see in relationship to the second track, the first track is much longer, but we need to move the second track now so that it's positioned into the quiet area of track number 1. So I'm going to use the transport tool. You have a little toolbar here in the upper left-hand corner of Audacity. I have, up until this point, been using the select tool. It looks like a little I-beam. I'm going to change to the transport tool, which is a double-ended arrow. And I'm going to select my second track so I can click and drag and slide this track along the timeline, like so. And what I'm trying to do is just get the waveform of track number 2 so that it fits in between the 2 major sound points in track number 1. So it'll look something like this. And now when I play through, I'm going to change to my select tool again and start at the beginning. Okay, it's coming along a little bit. The end of the vocals is a little bit abrupt. I'm I'm going to slide this a few moments back toward the beginning. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fade out the vocal a little bit so that it has a more natural end. To do this, I'm going to use the envelope tool. And so it's the second tool on the top of the tools. And with the envelope tool selected, I'm going to set 2 control points toward the end of track number 2. So I'll click once and click twice. And what that's going to allow me to do then is to make the end of track number 2 a little bit more quiet. So that second control point, I'm able to control and then shrink down, quiet that track so it doesn't abruptly end. So now let's play it through. Okay, that's sounding a little bit better. I have a bit of quiet space at the beginning of track number 1. I can delete that. It's not quite 1 second. I'm going to go select about 3/4 of a second there in the beginning of this track. And I'm going to delete by hitting the delete key. And I need to do that the same exact thing for, well, actually I don't need to do it for track number 2. All I'm going to do is switch to my transport tool and then slide track number 2 3/4 of a second to the left toward the beginning of the project. I'm going to go ahead, don't forget to continuously save your changes in Audacity. So we have 2 audio tracks so far. We can introduce a 3rd audio track and keep building this project. So as we've been doing, go ahead to Project and Import, just like we did with the first 2 pieces of audio. We'll look for our next piece of audio to import. And in all honesty, I forget what this sounds like. So I'm going to mute tracks 1 and 2. And we're going to play through track number 3. Have a little bit more space age sound going on with that track. My window is filling up quickly, so what I'm going to do so we can see everything, I'm going to switch to my zoom tool, which is the magnification icon up in the toolbar, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to hold down my shift key and just switch. You can see by default the magnification tool lets you zoom in. There'll be a little plus sign inside of the magnifying glass, and if you hold down your shift key, it'll switch to a minus sign indicating that you're zooming out when you click. So that's what I just did. Switching back to my transport tool, what I'm going to do is take track number 3 and I'm just going to slide it along the timeline so that it starts playing after the build in track number 1, and it starts gradually, so I bet we can have some overlap. So let's see what we have now. Switch back to my select tool, go back to the beginning and play. Where is this audio going? It can quickly turn into something really wacky. Alright, so it sounds like we're building towards something. And we'll continue to import some audio. Track number 4 is going to cause us to scroll through our project window. So what I can do is I can grab the bottom of each track and shrink it a little bit so everything is able to fit into one window. So you can see as you move your cursor over the boundaries of each track, it'll change to a 4-ended arrow. You can control the size of your tracks that way. And so now we're good. We can go ahead and import a fourth track. So remember how we did it before. Just go to Project and import audio. And I'll look for track number 4. I'm going to mute everything so we can play it really quickly. Alright, so we have a fireball sound. I'm going to move that fireball way to the end after that very climactic sound we just added. So let's add it out here, about between 20 and 21 seconds. Oh, maybe we can move that last little fireball closer. It starts pretty far away from everything else. So I'll change to my transport tool, grab that last track, scoot it to the left toward the beginning of the track a little bit. And I have one more piece of audio that I'm going to import into this project. So let's go grab it. And this is going to be the final thing that I add. I'm going to make sure that it's at the end of the project, all the way after the fireball sound. Like so. And if I were to zoom out again, we could see everything all at once. So let's do that. Okay. Alrighty. Almost ready. It's hard to get 5 tracks into the window here, huh? Getting there. One more try. Alright. That's a little bit better. So now when we play through everything, this is what we're dealing with. So we can go any number of places from there. We can start building this into a little bit of a mix. We've introduced a number of things in this tutorial already. So just to recap, we introduced the cassette play icons. So we have the play button, record, pause, stop. Everything you remember from your old cassette player when you were really young. And we introduced some of the tools in the toolbar, the select tool, which we used to add in some silence into our first track and to select some extra pieces of a sound form, a waveform that we wanted to delete. We also used our envelope tool, which is the second tool in the toolbar, to fade out the vocals in track number 2. We used our zoom tool so that we could see everything that's going on in our project. And we also used our transport tool, the transport tool being the most handy tool for sliding tracks along the timeline. And not to forget the timeline, but we also have been working in this timeline. You can see there's a ruler across the top that's measuring in seconds. That's the basics of Audacity. We want to make sure that we export your Audacity project into a file that other people can hear. What we want to do is we want to export our project to MP3. So Audacity natively can't export to MP3, but you can give it the capability to by installing the LAME encoder, L-A-M-E. Go to the Audacity project website, which is audacity.sourceforge.net, and go to Downloads. And there you'll find a link to the LAME encoder. You can just download that to your computer, install it, and then point Audacity to your LAME library. And you can do that in the Audacity preferences.